Okay, welcome back. We'll reconvene after closed session. First, we have the actions taken in closed session. Trustee Wright.
On a 5-0 vote, with Trustees Padberg and Jay absent, the board voted to approve a settlement agreement for a classified manager at Irvine Valley College.
All right, thank you. Next, we have invocation led by Trustee Milchiker, and then following that, the Pledge of Allegiance led by myself.
Please join me in a moment of silence to reflect upon the very important decisions that we are going to be making tonight to conduct the very important business of conducting the business of the two colleges, Saddleback College and Irvine Valley College. So please join me. Thank you. Okay, thank you.
All right, please repeat after me as we salute the flag of our nation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, next we have, we don't have any resolutions. We have a commendation from Saddleback College President Todd Burnett.
Good evening, Mr. President, trustees, Chancellor, all of our wonderful faculty, staff, ministers, managers, and guests. Thank you for being here tonight. I'll tell you, I started in 2008 with Saddleback. I've been very fortunate for the last 7 years to be here. Tonight, I'm just absolutely thrilled and elated to give commendations to some people, some classified staff, and a director at Saddleback College that I believe has done something that is more than remarkable. When we talk about student success, we talk about how we help our students. What they have done and able to do over the last 6 years is truly incredible, and the amount of impact they've made to students is extraordinary. So let me tell you who these folks are. First, I'm going to have them all come up. So come on over. Announce your names, but come on up. Come on up, you guys. Who these great folks are is about a dozen people that work in our Office of Financial Aid at Saddleback College. Let me tell you what these folks have done in the last 6 years. In the last 6 years in financial aid, in just BOG waivers alone, in 2007-2008, Saddleback gave 3,471 students were awarded roughly $3.4 million in BOG waivers. That's 1 year. Last year, just 1 year alone, in 1 year, 6 years later, we gave 11,120 students BOG waivers at $21 million in 1 year. The Pell Grant Award, which is a federal Pell Grant Award, in 2008-2007, we gave out $2.2 million to 959 students. Last year, we gave out $12,400,000 to 3,700 students. Just the real quick math for you non-mathematicians in there. For the Board of Governors fee waiver, that was a 516% increase. And for the Pell Grants, a 450% increase. Also, during the same period, and you can tell the reason why we have more financial aid recipients, is that we increased applications for students by 240%, from 5,000 to 17,000 per year, folks. I'll tell you, what you said, we talk about student success. Financial need is one of the single, if not the top number one reason for students not succeeding. So for them to be able, these 12 people in 5 years, to make that big of an increase, we wanted to bring them to the board and to our community to show our appreciation in a very, very small way, but wanted to do it and say your appreciation to help all these wonderful students. And I have Dr. Juan Avalos here, Vice President of Student Service, to give them, and I'll name off their names, and he'll give the certificates. First, we have Javier Williams. Second, Phuong Vu. Oh, she's not here. Claire Tracey, Dennis Stachelski, Thokazile Donata Senda. Oh, he's got it. Patricia Rocklin, Kimia Rezvani, Andrea McGinley, Tina Dang, Ruth Higgins. And finally, folks, I have to wait for our director at last. Christian, when did you start with this? 5 years ago, right? 4 years ago. Christian, he has maybe been the main reason and provide the leadership in financial aid. So thank you, Christian Alvarado, our director.
Is my hair okay?
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
All right. So next we have public comments. I have 7 polls here. I'd like to remind our commenters that we would like to hold you to 2 minutes so as to give each speaker adequate time to express their views. First, we have Blake Stevens, and then on deck we have Bob Cosgrove.
Good evening, trustees. I'd like to speak to you regarding the contract negotiations. And I guess what I'd like to say is it's the best of times and it's the worst of times. It's the best of times because even with Prop 13, the taxable base for South Orange County is, can't call it skyrocketing, how about leaping upwards? A couple of examples of what's happening. Right across the freeway, the warehouse district has been rezoned for mixed-use residential development, up to 10,000 units of housing, representing $2 billion in tax base, coming soon. Another example, the Montage Hotel, sold about 6 weeks ago for the highest price per room west of New York, $360 million, $1.4 million per room, a more than 200% increase in the taxable value. And I could go on and on and on about what's happening in Irvine, the price of new tract housing there. That's the good news. The bad news is attracting faculty to South Orange County means they need to get their toe in the door with housing. The average price of a house in Orange County is about a Corolla shy of $500,000, $485,000. South County, almost 40% higher than that. That's for all housing, condominiums and single family. So the cost of getting your toe in the door, higher than faculty salaries will support. Let's talk about renting a place to live while you're here at Saddleback. The going rate these days for new apartment development rents is $3 a square foot per month. Those lovely apartments that replaced Wild Rivers, 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment, about 1,000 square feet, rent for $2,800 a month. That's the real world. So I'd like you to consider that as you negotiate the faculty contract, what the real cost of housing is here, what it costs to attract people from out of the area or even within the area to a faculty position at Saddleback College. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So next we have Bob Cosgrove, and then on deck, Jean Agassi.
Thank you very much. Board members, I've placed in front of you some colored packets
was going to present a very brief PowerPoint, but 2 minutes did not really permit that, so I've made copies for you. And it's the plight of our part-time faculty. And most part-time faculty earn very low per-course salaries and few, if any, benefits. And coupling on to what Blake has just said, the cost of living is astronomical for them. If you look at the second slide, and I'm sorry the audience does not have access to this, the roadblock to student success, this college, when it was built, was not designed to accommodate several hundred part-time faculty members. There is no space for them. They can't meet with students. They don't have access oftentimes to computers, to copiers. This is not their fault, and it's not the fault of administration, but it's simply the situation that we have here. And so one of the concerns that I have, and the research that I have done, and that packet that accompanies it, is a research institute that is bipartisan and has high respect. Comments and slides that I have for you are from the Huffington Post, the Chronicle of Higher Education, NPR, and other organizations that have done a lot of work on this area. And I hope that you recognize that when you look at the next slide, the annual typical adjunct earns $20,000 to $25,000, and compared to a full-time faculty member earning $84,000 for the same work that is done, and without benefits oftentimes. We are fortunate here that the association and the Board of Trustees has agreed to have certain benefits for our associate faculty members. Maybe taking a page from a CSU book, when CSU Chancellor Timothy White took over, one of the first things he immediately called for was a reduction of the 4 and 5 year faculty appointments, simply because of the uncertainty of these individuals. They're non-tenure track. And we have a similar situation here that, people never know whether they're going to have a job or not. And if they are sometimes, as many of our associates do, ferreting back and forth, it's very difficult. I won't go much more into this. You can look at it at your leisure. But when you want to have a special board meeting, I'll be glad to talk to you about it. Thank you.
So next we have Jean Agassi, and on deck, Christina Ganapapur.
Yes, I had to follow the data wonks. So good evening, Mr. President and members of the board. My name is Gina Gass. Some of you know me. Some of you have been in my class. And I've taught Spanish for 35 years here at Irvine Valley College. And while I am a seasoned full-time member, I'm here tonight really to advocate for the salaries of our adjunct colleagues and newly hired faculty, who are much lower on the pay scale than I am. So I'm just here to ask you to please make every effort to assure that these groups receive adequate benefits that are commensurate to the benefits that we get as full-time, and also that their compensation is adequate for the cost of living here in Orange County, which you've already heard the data on. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. So next we have Christina Ganapapur, and then Beth Clary on deck, please.
Good evening. My name is Christina Ganapapur, and I am a new full-time faculty member in the History Department. I'm here today to speak in support of what our earlier speakers have mentioned in terms of the salary proposal for faculty. As a new faculty member, I'm very much experiencing the brunt of all of those housing increases. I live 73 miles away in Sylmar, California, and just north of LA. And it has been a challenge finding housing this year. I would say average housing prices for a 3-bedroom in this area are about $800,000. That's difficult both because it's quite a substantial amount to pay for a house, but also because a lot of the financial products that existed 5 and 6 years ago when I bought my current house just don't exist anymore. CalSTRS, for example, which is the Teachers' Retirement Fund, they don't provide mortgages anymore. So a lot of those resources that sort of helped faculty members get mortgages no longer exist. Now, as a community college, I think it's important for faculty members to be as much a part of the community we serve as possible. So I would ask that you consider that as you consider the salary proposal before you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So next we have Beth Clary, and on deck would be Melissa Knoll.
All right, good evening, Board. My name's Beth Clary, and I've been in the district since 1988, and I've been asked to read a statement by a part-timer. I'm also a part-timer in the district, and the part-timer chose not to read the statement themselves out of fear, and so I volunteered to read the statement for them. And it's specifically in regards to paid office hours for part-time faculty. Recently, Saddleback College publicized a tip of the week, both online and throughout the college, encouraging students to take advantage of faculty office hours. Having the opportunity to meet with professors one-on-one is an invaluable resource. But being that close to 50% of classes are taught by part-time faculty, students are not given the opportunity to meet with all of their professors. Clearly, this is a disadvantage for students and diminishes their chance for student success, including lowering the retention rate, the graduation rate, and the transfer rate of students to four-year universities. If we are sincerely concerned about student success in our district, then we need to make sure that students have the ability to meet with all of their professors, not just the full-time professors. I hope you take this into consideration as we continue the negotiation process and sincerely consider the opportunity for part-time faculty to be given what is right for student success, and that is paid office hours. Thank you.
Next we have Melissa Knoll, followed by Ken Woodward.
Good evening, and thank you for hearing me out today. I'm Melissa Knoll, and I'm really happy to be here tonight. One of the reasons why I'm sharing my story is because it's really representative. I'm happy to say that after 5 years as working as part-time faculty at Irvine Valley College, in 2014, I was appointed to the full-time faculty ranks. So I'm really happy and grateful to be here. When I was part-time, just like many of us, I was a freeway flyer, right? I worked at several Orange County schools, and I was commuting in from far away. I was commuting from San Gabriel Valley. So in terms of time, that's 45 minutes on a good day, 2 hours on a bad day. I tried to do that for one semester when I became full-time faculty, and that just did not work at all. I wanted to be closer to the community that I serve so I'd be able to do a better job. And so I moved out here. I came out here 3 months ago. And I've got to say that I was amazed at the different cost of living out here. Just to give you guys some perspective, I came out of UCR. That's where I did my grad work. And I have colleagues there who are renting 2-bedroom houses for less than $1,000 a month. Right, and their median wage is analogous to ours here in our district. So clearly, there's a big disparity there. When I made my decisions about where I was going to live, I considered living and renting in the district. There was no possible way that I could have bought, at all. But I considered renting in the district, even though it would have been 1/3, more than my monthly salary. But I decided against it because ultimately my financial goals are to buy a house out here. And I wanted to save. So living out of the district allows me to put a little bit away for that. But, to tell you the truth, I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to buy a house out here. I mean, we talked about how much it is to buy a 3-bedroom home here. And I only have a single salary, right? So if it's too expensive for me to rent in the district, then it would be even more financially prohibitive to buy. So in any case, I just wanted to bring that up. And I wanted to say again that I'm really happy to be here and to be part of our district. And I'd love to be part of the community that I serve. And a wage that's commensurate to our high cost of living out here would make that possible. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And our final speaker is Ken Woodward.
Hi, I'm Ken Woodward. I'm a professor of economics at Saddleback College, and I'm a former president of the Faculty Association. And actually, I was interim dean back a while ago of social sciences and liberal arts. So I want to just echo a lot of the points made by the previous speakers. But before I start, I want to say that many of our thoughts are with Trustee Jay tonight, and we wish him a speedy recovery. In fact, a lot of people may not know that Bill J. actually was involved on both sides of the contract issue, both as a negotiator for the district and for the faculty association. And whatever side of the table he was on, it was always his philosophy is that we're a community, and a high cost of living community at that. And to attract the best faculty who can encourage student success, both full and part-time, we should have a salary schedule that will enable faculty to live and be part of our community. Previous speaker mentioned living in Riverside. When I first started here, my salary was $26,000. I was just finishing my PhD at UC Riverside, and I had to commute for the first 2 or 3 years from Riverside, to be able to get enough funds to buy a house in the district. So I'm very sympathetic to their plight. Faculty salaries have not increased in 4 years. As Professor Stevens mentioned, the cost of maintaining a household here has really soared. So I hope the board will take this into account when considering the Faculty Association's proposal. And I just want to conclude, for students to be successful, we must be able to attract the best faculty, both full and part-time, and compensate them in a way that they can be part of our community. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. Seeing no further requests to speak, we'll do board reports. We'll throw things up for a loop here, and we'll start with Trustee Lang.
Yes, welcome. Good to see such a good crowd at our board meeting tonight. One of the things that I did since the last meeting was I attended Coach Hartman's funeral at Saddleback Church not too long ago. I was certainly impressed with the number of players and coaches that he influenced during his career at Saddleback College, and it gave me an opportunity to thank the family for all that they've done for Saddleback Community College. I also, along with Trustees Wright, Prendergast, and Jamal, attended the recent Orange County School Board Association meeting. Speaker was very interesting, had some interesting, as I said, personal observations, not all of which I agreed with, but certainly worthwhile, and also seeing a lot of our peers on other boards throughout the county. And that's all my report. Thank you.
Thank you. And I will remind my fellow board members that the public was really good at staying at 2 minutes, so we're going to do the same thing, right? Okay, so February 6th, attended the President's Cup. Sorry, Todd. But IVC won that one this year. February 9th, I was at the OCCOC meeting, and it was interesting information that I'd like to share with the public. If you contact your local Orange County city, it is highly possible that they take part in something called the PACE program. It's a way you can make improvements to your home for energy efficiency and have the loan attached to your property tax bill, which is a very interesting concept that I wish I knew existed 2 years ago when I put solar panels on my house. But since now I can share that with you, hopefully you can take advantage of what I missed out on. This Saturday I attended Poets and Romantics at IVC, put on by Iman Kashapur and Amy Toscano, a former faculty member at IVC. And Mr. Kashapur is a current faculty member, and it was very entertaining. And I'm glad my daughter had to go for extra credit. So with that, Trustee Jamal.
Thank you. I'm glad that I think Ken Woodward left the room. I'm glad he brought up Trustee Jay. We all certainly wish, there he is, Trustee Jay a speedy and healthy recovery. I'm the newest member of the board, with the exception of the student trustee. And I had the pleasure of sitting next to Bill for the first year on the board. And, what a joy it was to sit next to him. His insights, his history, his knowledge, his wit. He's a very, very funny individual as well. And has such a rich history here in the district with Saddleback College and great knowledge. And he's very fair-minded as well. as many as you know. So I'm certainly I miss him being here, and I'm hoping he'll be back here soon. A couple of events that I attended were with some of the faculty and administrators, the AACC Workforce Development Conference last month in Newport Beach, which was excellent. Had a number of really relevant panels on a lot of different activities going on in terms of public-private partnerships, workforce development initiatives, many of which are either spearheaded by community colleges or in collaboration between K through 12 community colleges and then the universities as well. So I thought that was one of the better conferences that I've attended since I've been a trustee. And then I know Trustee Lang mentioned the OCSBA dinner. The speaker was interesting, and even perhaps more interesting was the pre-dinner speaker from the Princeton Review, who seemed to be giving advice to all of our high school students on when to take the ACT, SAT. Don't take it your junior year, take it your senior year. Don't take the new one, take the old one. My advice to anyone who was there, and parents or students, just get good grades. Don't worry about the strategy. Study for your SAT, SAT, and do well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I went over a little.
That's all right. I went under, and so did Trustee Lang. So your total time is good. Trustee Wright.
Thank you. I just wanted to comment on Bill J. again. Our thoughts and prayers are with him for his quick recovery. I also wanted to comment on, I walked by the new sciences building that's being built here at Saddleback College, and if you haven't seen it, it's going up, and all of the steel and so forth, and so it's going to be a magnificent building once it gets built. That will be the sciences building here at Saddleback. I also had the opportunity to go to the political action group. It's called the Page Group, and listen to the same speech that Trustee Jamal talked about. He was talking about the SAT and the ACT, and I'm familiar with both of those exams, having been at some four-year schools which require them. It really doesn't matter which one you take. Schools will take either one, the ACT or SAT. It so happens that on the West Coast and East Coast, it's mostly SAT, whereas in the Midwest and the South, it's the ACT. It's interesting, the ACT, there's no guessing factor. There's only 4 answers, and you can pick one of 4. On the SAT, there are 5, and they also will take off for guessing. So I've always preferred the ACT test. Finally, I was able to go to a men's basketball game here at Saddleback College. They beat Fullerton College very handily, 88-57. But I want to brag about both basketball teams, not only Saddleback's but IVC's. Saddleback College has a record right now of 28-2. They're ranked high in the state, and they are 11-1 in the conference and took the conference championship. IVC is ranked number 2 in the conference, having a record of 16 wins and 11 losses and 9-3 records. So there's going to be some playoffs this weekend with both IVC and Saddleback participating. And finally, I just wanted to mention that the San Francisco Superior Court is now going to allow the City College of San Francisco to request an explanation as to why it fell short on 10 specific areas. And maybe they'll be able to reevaluate as to whether they were warranted to have their accreditation revoked. So I think that's interesting. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Very good.
Trustee Milchiker.
Okay, thank you. Very, very interesting. And I agree with Ken Woodward and my fellow trustees. We miss Trustee Jay, and we hope he comes back with us very soon. He's a very incredibly rich history in the district of Saddleback College in our district. I wanted to mention I attended the South Orange County Legislative Task Force meeting on February the 5th, and that is, I really welcome so many of you that haven't been here before. It's really wonderful to see you and to hear your concerns. I really enjoy that, and I think all the board members do. But the Legislative Task Force is an organization of all 4 community college districts that work together with our local legislators to help benefit all the community colleges. And I was one of the founders of that, so I'm very proud of that. And I'm proud to represent our district this year on the task force. This year, IVC President Glenn Rockmore is a member of the Orange County Business Council. And so that is a good thing because now we have a voice on the Orange County Business Council for the first time. and they're going to be having a meeting every month to bring different businesses in and talk to the local community colleges and see how we can partner together with them. And many members are permitted to attend that as well. We welcomed Alicia Burhow, who's the Vice President of the Economic Development and Advocacy of the Orange County Business Council, to the meeting. The assembly, the new assembly chair of higher education is Jose Medina, and he's going to be holding a summit on higher education this summer or the spring. They're having the OCSBA is having a workforce conference on October the 8th, and they're calling it, instead of calling it STEM, they're calling it STEAM, for science, technology, education, arts, and mathematics, because Disneyland is a member of their organization, and they want to also represent the arts. We talked about the new facilities bond measure, which, if passed, will be on the ballot in 2016. $9 billion is proposed to be on there for bonding issues, and $2 billion of that would be designated to community colleges. Is my time up? Okay. That's all. Thank you so much.
Thank you for being cognizant of that. All right. Lots of good information this evening. Student Trustee Carrillo.
Okay. So, speedy recovery for Trustee Jay. I'm going to miss him. He's in my prayers. So, first thing first, I attended the President's Cup briefly. I couldn't stay for long because I had to do a couple tutoring, but last time I saw it was Saddleback was winning, and then I heard that IBC won. But nevertheless, good job, both teams. So, good job. I did attend the Emeritus Institute, the Don Wagner lecture series for The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly in Sacramento about the politics. He talks about playing his role as an assembly member in Sacramento, and I'm very happy for him as one of our recent or previous trustees, board member. He's moving up, and as a student trustee, I can see that running for state senator is not an easy thing, and I wish the best of luck for him, and hopefully he moves on to something even bigger. So I can see that in the future. I would like to thank the Financial Aid Department. Thank you, President Todd Burnett. And I would also like to welcome our new substitute advisor at IVC. His name is Dr. Ryan Alcantara, and he comes from Cal State University, Fullerton, though he's not here. I would also like to welcome him to our school, and I hope he enjoys it. Thank you.
All right. Chancellor's report.
Last spring, the board started having listening sessions, which provided an opportunity for faculty and staff to meet in relatively small groups to address the board on whatever concerns they wanted to bring forward. Since that time, we've had a discussion item at the board meeting to give further information out about the topic that was under discussion. And at this meeting, we're going to have two such topics. The first one is going to be on the method of distributing resources each year to each of the colleges and to district services by the District Resource Allocation Council. The second report is going to be on development of the academic calendar. At the time that the listening sessions were held last year, that was a very hot topic. And that was finally resolved, so we're going to have a presentation about that process. And in April, we're going to have the last discussion item, and that one is going to be on service areas. There's been a controversy between the colleges on an issue having to do with the service areas of each of them, so I look forward to that one. And I would remind all faculty and staff that the next round of board listening sessions is coming up in April, on April the 22nd, on a Wednesday. And I encourage all of you to attend, and gives you an opportunity to talk directly to the board.
Thank you very much. Next we have College President's Report. So we only have one. No, he's going to speak on his behalf. Well, we'll go ahead and...
Yes, hi, President Rockmore couldn't be here tonight, and I have nothing to add to his report that's in your board packet.
All right, thank you. President Todd Burnett.
Does that mean I can have his 2 minutes?
Sure.
No, it's all right. First off, I want to congratulate IVC, actually, and President Rockmore on winning this year's President's Cup. And yes, Student Trustee Carrillo, it was 2-2, but they won the tiebreaker. And it seems like every year it goes to the tiebreaker anyway, which shows you how competitive and how wonderful our two colleges' women's and men's basketball teams are. With that said, Trustee Wright, I did get the information you were asking for. The men's basketball team, as you know, won the conference. They're seeded number 2 in the Southern California playoffs. First game is at Saddleback this Saturday at 7 p.m., and we play the winner of either Pierce College or Bakersfield College. So how's that? Hope to see you there. Also, we have 2 major events coming up that everyone should be aware of, but I want to remind anybody, hopefully our trustees and people in the audience and the community will attend. First is this Friday is our inaugural South Orange County Economic Report Lunch. We do that in partnership with the South Orange County Economic Coalition. Dean Tony Tang from Business Science and Economic Workforce Development has put together, with other people in the community and our partners, to put together the first South Orange County Economic Report. It will be divulged at this luncheon. Second is, of course, it's foundation time, folks, and on Saturday, March 14th, at the Laguna Cliffs Marriott Resort and Spa in Dana Point, we'll be having our 15th annual gala for our foundation. Please get your tickets, and you can get them on the foundation's website, or you can call me even. We're going to be introducing our new alumnus of the year, who's Jason Schmidt. He's the president and owner of J.T. Schmidt's Restaurant and Brewery, amongst other things. With that said, I know the board will be closing in memory, but we do want to recognize we lost 2 very dear people to the Saddleback College family this last few weeks. First, Professor Richie White. As you know, he taught at ceramics for 26 years at Saddleback, but he's going to be not only his legacy with students and for teaching and with all of us and in the community, his lasting legacy, of course, is that he is the designer and built the Saddleback College Veterans Memorial, which will be here for eternity, recognizing a very dear people in our community. We also lost, as you know, our former coach and administrator at Saddleback College, George Hartman, who started in 1968 and was credited with founding athletics at Saddleback College. Our thoughts and prayers go out to Trustee Jay. Thank you.
Thank you. And we have student government reports, as IVC is here.
Good evening. Safar Mahmadov, the president of Associate Student Government. On Wednesday, January 28th, Spring Club Day hosted an estimated 500 plus students. We extended the hours for the club days to accommodate the growing numbers of students participants. 30 clubs participated. In addition, we had 2 newly ratified clubs for this semester. The Pharmacy and Health Science Club, which reported 52 student sign-ups, and the Applied Science and Engineering Clubs, which had 285 sign-ups. On Friday, February 6th, IVC hosted the President's Cup. Hot dogs and chili dogs were served. Entertainment included a DJ, jumbo photo booth, and face painting with IVC logos. In addition, the first 100 attendees received 2015 President's Cup T-shirts. The T-shirts were designed by Josepine Espinoza, the winner of the T-shirt design contest, which was sponsored by the ASIVC. I would also say that both teams from Saddleback and IVC were compatible, and they played very hard to win the President's Cup. But however, I would like to congratulate IVC women's basketball team for their victory and make it possible for IVC to win the President's Cup for this year. On Thursday, February 1st, we hosted a homecoming court. Pizza and desserts were served, and the Orange County Band, Hero for Today, provided music for all. This year's homecoming court was presented at halftime during the men's game, with the king and queen being announced, and they were crowned by the former queen, Megan Francisco, and myself as a former king. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Seeing no board requests for reports, we'll go on to the first discussion item, 4.1, Saddleback College and Irvine Valley College process for developing the academic calendar. This is the process we hear so much about trusting, right, Kathy?
Here you go. Sorry. You have to wait.
Hi, I'm Kathy Schmeidler, President of the IVC Academic Senate, and my colleague.
Dan Walsh, President of the Saddleback College Academic Senate. First off, this should be brief. We've only got about 40 or 50 slides here. What we're trying to avoid is something this complicated in creating the calendar, and hopefully something that does not lead to the end of the world. At the top level, we have the District Academic Calendar Committee. All governance groups are represented, but please note that it's heavily focused on college participation. The idea is that we find a calendar that's mutually agreeable between the two colleges. At this level, we will also be assuring compliance with instructional hours, state laws, and the holidays. At Saddleback College, our academic calendar committee is one of the Noah's Ark ones where we have one from every administrative unit. And we also have additional representation from classified and administration. The idea is that everybody can provide input to the process, but the faculty will be the voting members and the decision makers in it. The idea is that they're responsible for drafting a calendar based on the state and local requirements with holidays, 178 instructional days. The 8 fell off, so but it is 178, and also flex days. And flex days are something that we have to keep in consideration, that we have to have 9 days set aside that faculty members can meet their obligations to be part of that 178 instructional days. And so all those pieces put together will come up with a draft calendar. The IVC.
Thank you. The IVC representatives through the district-wide calendar committee constitute our calendar committee at IVC, but we consult with all of our strategic planning committees and the academic senate so that there's campus-wide accord before we represent ourselves at the district-wide committee. And so we arrive at some consensus among the governance groups, and all of that comes together in our Strategic Planning and Accreditation Council, fondly known to its friends and family as SPAC. For us, in addition to the kinds of things that Dan was talking about, we are very concerned with balancing the number of class days, which I know Saddleback is as well. So each of the class days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, although we often don't pay much attention to Saturday, maybe in the future Sundays also, but not at the moment. If there's a problem with any day being short, and that seems to hit Saturdays more than other days, Fridays yet the next one up, but any day that's short, it can be fixed by altering the time blocks. That's easier to do with Saturdays and Fridays than it is with Monday through Thursday, but we do what we need to do if we can't make the calendar work. The 2 semesters should be as close as possible to the same length, but again, there are exigencies that prevent that sometimes, and we try to leave enough time, or we must leave enough time for summer sessions and whatever those summer session lengths are as recommended by the Vice Presidents of Instruction. For instruction, excuse me.
But it's more than just the details of the specific number of days and instructional hours. It's also involves start times and end times for the semesters and as they affect different academic programs. And so each college has to bring into the decision-making process all of those different perspectives. And unfortunately, we're never going to get a calendar that makes everybody happy. We try and minimize the impact on instructional programs where changing a date might have a negative impact in one. Nursing is the current example where we're having vocalized that the start date for the semester doesn't coincide with their start date for some of their programs. So, but at the same time, we have other programs that need this later start date for work that they need done, for lab refresh, for admissions and records to get processing done on it. So we have to take all of those different unique needs of our college into our discussions. So the committee will create a calendar that's recommended to the academic senate, and the academic senate furthers that discussion at another level, but it's also done in a public manner because it is a Brown Act compliant committee, so that we have to make sure that everybody has a chance for input in the process. And so the academic senate reviews and typically revises the calendar and makes adjustments to it before it's forwarded our college's recommendation on to the district-wide academic senate. And at our college, we're split on start dates, for example, but the most recent vote was the calendar that you'll be seeing, I believe, next month before the board.
We can get along even though we are disparate in height. One of the things that IVC is particularly concerned about is getting time for a winter or intersession, at least for short courses. For example, for counseling classes, possible field trips, or other intense classes that would be highly focused and might meet, for example, every day, lab classes, language classes, and so forth. Time for A&R to ensure that records are current for enrollment, time for IT and facilities to refresh, as Dan's mentioned. So, if there are any questions, the answers are yes, no. We'll look into that, and it's in the 10+1.
All right, so I have 2 requests to speak. I need 2 more to answer the last 2 questions, and we'll move on. No? All right.
Very nice.
Trustee Jamal.
Okay, thank you for your presentation. So, a couple of questions here for both of you. Kathy, I think in your slide, you mentioned that the calendar is arrived at by consensus among the governance groups, which to me implies there's no dissenting vote. So that is consensus decision making. Is it the same then consensus decision making at Saddleback College as well?
No, it's a vote.
So it's not by consensus.
It's not by consensus. No, it's a
So you
vote.
have different methods of finalizing the calendar at IVC versus Saddleback.
That's correct. Yes.
And you have a vote.
Yes.
Okay, but you don't, Kathy. And
We have not, in my experience, we have not. But I would like to just correct the notion about consensus. There may be dissension, but consensus is reached when no one feels so strongly about their dissension that they need to block the decision of the group.
That's good.
NATO operates by consensus. The second.
And bombs.
So, listen, off that, piggyback on the question at that point. Has anything changed since this came up at our listening sessions last year? Because it seemed to be a flashpoint, the development or consensus or vote on the calendar. Has anything changed since this issue was raised last May when we had the listening sessions?
We're going to get out of an area of our expertise because part of the issue related to the nursing program and their ability to get extra duty days and as it relates to the contract. So that I would have to defer to the Faculty Association for that part of the conflict. There's still we're going to have people who aren't going to be happy with the calendar that's coming forward. So the answer is no. It wasn't resolved, but it's been above board in public, and we've done our best to get everybody's input on it. So there's only so much we can do.
Thank you.
So if everybody's happy, something's wrong? Yeah.
Yes.
Trustee Wright.
My question is for Kathy. Kathy, you mentioned possible field trips or other intense courses. Have you done this at IVC? And how many courses are we talking about?
We have not at this time, in part because until this time, that January interval has been very contentious. And I think I'm guessing I'm putting words into my colleagues' mouths, but I suspect that people didn't want to invest a great deal in developing courses for that period of time if the next year that interval was going to disappear and we were going to go back to starting right after New Year's or as close to New Year's as possible. So we've now put out a call for people to bring forward those kinds of courses or methodologies, and I suspect that some will come forward, in particular in counseling. And I'd like to point out that with the new SSSP guidelines and requirements, as well, that's the matriculation, as we used to call it, the student success programs, the new requirements for students to have academic plans and enhanced academic plans fairly early in their career, as well as the student equity program projects that we have underway. I suspect that the counseling courses, both workshops and formal courses during that intersession, will probably increase in number quite a lot.
Now, do you think you're talking about a number of courses or just a few for these courses being taught? A dozen?
Well, my hope is that it will be a small number of courses in many, many sections.
Okay,
but I'm also hoping, I don't anticipate that this will ever be a very large selection of courses because I think they need to be specialty courses. I would never advocate to take a regular semester course and smash it into a small period of time. But field trips are an obvious example. But, for example, a film studies class where you can watch an entire movie and have a pre-movie discussion and a post-movie discussion every single day for 2 weeks is a really powerful thing, which is very hard to fit into a semester. So there are a number of things that can be done very fruitfully in a short period if they're organized in that way.
Thank you, Kathy.
All right, seeing no further requests to speak, I think you're done. Thank you. So next we have 4.2, reviewing the DRAC funding model.
All right. Everybody's leaving for our presentation. What did we say?
It's stuff they need to know.
Yeah. All right. So our presentation tonight is Understanding the District Resources Allocation Council, which is called DRAC, and the DRAC model. So tonight we're going to have Vice Presidents Carol Hilton and David Kachatian, as well as myself presenting. And we also have Kim McCord, who's the Executive Director of Fiscal Services here, and her unit does the calculation for the DRAC model. So we have resources if you have technical questions as well. So with that, we'll start with David.
Slide 2. Okay. Good evening, everyone. The DRAC stands for District Resources Allocation Council, and it's a district-wide participatory governance council, and it was approved by the Board of Trustees, and it primarily operates on SB 361. The current process was established back in 1997, and the DRAC Council makes recommendations to the Chancellor, who in turn makes recommendations to the Board of Trustees. One of the overarching principles of our business operations in general, of course, is that planning drives resource allocations, and this is embedded in our culture. And the way it's done through DRAC, DRAC being the resource allocation model or council model, once the resources are allocated to the sites, each site, through their respective planning and budget committees, they make decisions and recommendations as to how to expend those funds locally. And I'm going to refer back to this slide later on in my presentation because it comes in as a theme as well once the funding is allocated. Slide 3 shows it's a snapshot of the DRAC model on the top right. It's a quite complex. We use an Excel spreadsheet, and it's a multi-tab document. And this is just a snapshot. And the main principle in DRAC model is that we go off of the SB 361, which is the state apportionment model that the state is using, adopted back in 2006, 2007. And the amount, because we're basic aid or locally funded, the amount that we get in revenues from property taxes and student fees exceeds the amount that the state calculates through SB 361. So if you subtract the SB 361 based amount from the total available revenue, the remaining amount becomes basic aid. And the amount, according to SB 361, is what the Board of Trustees define in their annual budget guidelines as the amount that we would be simulating in order to arrive at the DRAC model, the total amount that the DRAC model has. And that is following the conservative approach and being fiscally prudent. And of course, the remaining amount, as I mentioned, is the basic aid, what's called basic aid, and that is used primarily for large capital projects and technology projects. And that amount that's left after SB 361 amounts have been allocated is what Basic Aid Allocation Recommendation Council, or BARC, deals with and makes recommendations. And BARC and DRAC are separate committees. Some of the members sit on both committees, but they act as separate and independent from each other. Slide 4 shows, again, the DRAC model is the revenue allocation model. It's important to emphasize that we're dealing with revenues, and the actual expenditures happen at the local levels, at the district services and the 2 colleges as well. That's why it's called a decentralized model. And as I mentioned before, local planning and budget committees are the ones who make recommendations to respective presidents or the chancellor in the case of district services, and these decisions are made at that level. The amount that goes into the DRAC model besides SB 361 also include enrollment fees, non-resident tuition, local income such as rental fees, and miscellaneous income such as ticket sales and commissions. And last but not least, the ending balances that we'll cover in the next slide. And the DRAC model has 5 areas, and Saddleback College, IVC, district services, contingency reserve, and last but not least, the general expense category. And our goal, of course, is to maintain a model and enhance the model as much as we can to make it fair and equitable, and also to make it predictable. And we're following SB 361, so we depend on the state budget being enacted, and in the recent years it's been timely by July, so it helps. But we do rely on SB 361 information being released before we can finalize the model as well. With that, I would like to turn it over to my colleague, Carol Hilton.
Thanks, David. Good evening, everyone. So continuing with the DRAC model components, we get to keep our prior year ending balances, and that's actually significant because it actually encourages the colleges and district services to be prudent, knowing that any savings will actually carry over into the next year. So that's a good feature of the DRAC model. The FTES in the model, the full-time equivalent students, which is the method by which we're paid, is updated every year according to the reports that we submit to the state. And then what we look at the revenue adjustments, this of course is the unrestricted general fund only. This is not grants categorical budgets. It's really only the unrestricted operational dollars for the colleges and district services. And so we look at the State Budget Act, and whatever the COLA, the cost of living, is in the State Budget Act, we apply to the revenue in the DRAC model. Then we apply whatever the growth would be at the state level, or whatever the growth is allocated to this district, and any other allocations that may be appropriate. What we've done internally within the district, based on college agreement, is that we've said that what we'll do is we will fund the colleges based upon an average of the prior 3 years full-time equivalent students. And the reason we did that is to avoid, if one college was to reduce in enrollments, they wouldn't take a big hit that year. It would kind of be on an average. And so we've been using that for a while to allocate funds between the colleges, and that's been working well. The district services, what happens is we look at how much revenue that will be generated through the SB 361 funding formula. We get a total dollar amount, and then district services receive 9.34% of that fixed off the top to run district services. And so what happens then, if the revenue declines, then the district services share in that, and if the revenue increases, district services share in that also. And then in addition, we have the 7.5% contingency. So
The funding rates are different depending upon the kind of full-time equivalent student it is, which is credit, as you can see, is the highest. And it's important to point out here as well, this is a state funding formula. So every district in the state, no matter where the district is, they receive the same funding amount. And so the colleges are funded like any other college in the state. So we have the credit rate, the non-credit rate, and the career development and college prep, which we call enhanced non-credit. And for next year, actually, the governor's proposal is that the enhanced non-credit rate be the same as credit for next year. So we're hoping that actually happens because it will help us a little bit, probably only about $200,000, but it's all good. So. Okay, another component of the 361 model is that each college gets a base allocation. And the base allocation is intended to be and recognize the fixed costs in a college. So therefore, smaller colleges are advantaged by having a base rather than just being funded through FTES. And so you can see on this chart the dollar amounts for a base allocation. And we call them small, medium, and large college bases. Right now, Saddleback is paid as a large college and IVC as a medium. These thresholds are going to increase next year. And as a result of that increase, then Saddleback will probably be a medium college together with IVC for next year. And then we do not have an approved center, but if you did have an approved center, then you would have to have FTES of 1,000 or more to receive a base of $1 million. Other component is the growth rate. This is significant for us right now because the state is looking at changing how growth rate is allocated. And the new proposal is that there will be 5 factors that will derive the growth rate, such as educational attainment, numbers of Pell Grant recipients, participation rates and employment rates. And when we actually run that formula for this district, it does not yield the 2% growth rate that is proposed in the budget next year. So what they say under this new formula is you will get a minimum of 1%. So right now, based upon the calculations, it looks like the district growth rate for this district is 1%, which would be the minimum guaranteed. And so there's more to come on that, but that's where we're at right now. And we'll see what happens between now and the final budget. Another component of the SB 361 funding formula is stability. So if you have a 1-year sudden revenue drop because of a big FTES drop, you have 1 year stability of revenue to be able to gain that back. And then if you do not, and you have 3 years of declining FTES, you actually have that time to get your base back. So the state will not adjust your base unless you have 3 years of declining. So with that, I will pass it over to Deborah.
So besides SB 361 that we use as our basis for doing the DRAC model, we also have some other parameters. And one of those is the board's budget development guidelines. So this slide talks about guideline number 7. That's part of the budget book and part of the philosophy of the board for many, many years. And that is talking about while the district is a basic aid district, the expenditure budgets for ongoing purposes shall be the resources that would have been available from state apportionment. So that's one of the parameters for DRAC. In addition, it talks about excess revenue above the apportionment shall be allocated at the college or district for one-time purposes, such as to cover some of the unfunded obligation for retirement benefit plans, and that's our OPEB trust, which you are well aware of. Excess revenue above apportionment shall not be used for regular ongoing expenses, such as salaries. And excess revenue above apportionment shall not be used for any other purpose that will jeopardize the district's financial stability. And then we also have, in addition to that, the BP and AR 3110 that will be followed for allocating basic aid funds. Okay. In addition to Guideline 7 in the Budget Development Guidelines, we also have Guideline 8 and 10. So 8 says one-time cost savings shall be allocated to purposes such as the unfunded obligation for the retirement benefit plans or to one-time expenditures. And then it talks about funding for growth. It says that the district resource allocation model shall limit funding for growth FTS to a maximum of the district's individual growth rate published by the State Chancellor's Office, adjusted by system office revisions. And again, this is going to change based on what Carol was already relaying to you. The district growth funding shall also be constrained by FTS growth achieved by the district up to the maximum amount funded through SB 361 allocation formula. Okay. Now, it's sort of a zero-sum game, and it's getting confusing sometimes. What is the operation budget? What is the rest of the budget? What is basic aid? And how does that fit into the DRAC model? So we wanted to sort of remind everybody what basic aid is and how it's calculated. So each of the 72 districts receive all of their respective student enrollment fees and property taxes. And what happens is there's a calculation called revenue entitlement, and that's what would be under SB 361 as outlined in previous slides. If the revenues received from the property taxes and student enrollment fees are less than that revenue entitlement calculation, then the difference is made up by the state apportionment amount. And that's what the apportionment districts will receive. For us, the 361 calculation is determined, and if the revenues received from student enrollment and property taxes are equal to or greater than the SB 361 calculation, then that district is considered basic aid or locally funded, and that's our position at the moment. The increment above the revenue limit is the basic aid amount. So we diagram that at the bottom to make it really simple. So if you take the student enrollment fees plus the property taxes, if it's less than 361, the difference is made up by the state. If it's greater than 361, then the excess amount is called basic aid. A basic aid district does not receive state support for its regular unrestricted general fund operations, but there's an asterisk there because this past year we have. Because under Prop 30 funds, it was derived by temporary tax that's going to go away in 2016 and 2018. We have received $1 per FTS here at South Orange County Community College District. So that's an exception to the normal rule. Because it's delineated in a different part of the Budget Act, we also receive state support for some categorical programs, and those are also provided to basic aid districts. And districts can become basic aid via a combination of increased excess valuation in new homes, which is property tax revenue increases, and also by decreases in enrollment. So there's various ways you can get into basic aid. I believe that Marin, for instance, received their basic aid status by decreases in enrollment. So it can happen a couple different ways. So really is we have to watch our enrollment growth as well because it could put us out of basic aid as well, especially if our assessed values went down at the same time. The District Resource Allocation Council has 13 voting members. And so just sort of like we saw the calendar committee earlier, we have 2 academic senate presidents and their designees, additional academic senate appointments, the 2 fiscal office appointments, which are David and Carol, the 2 vice presidents of instruction. We also have 3 classified staff, 1 from CSEA appointed, and the classified senate presidents are their designees. We also have a district representative appointed by Chancellor, and we have recently a new appointment from Faculty Association representative. It's chaired by myself. I'm a non-voting member, and we have a lot of resources to that group, including district fiscal services and also our research planning folks. Lastly, we wanted to make sure everybody was aware where we can get information. There's a lot of materials that are on these SharePoint sites. This is our district intranet, so to speak. So it's not available through the entire community, but anyone who's a faculty staff member or board of trustee can look onto these sites and you can get a lot of information on the DRAC. We have history of the DRAC model on there, a lot of archives that we're able to produce, and all the different variations of the model and spreadsheets are also on there, and minutes and agendas from the meetings. We also have BARC on the site if you're interested in sort of the other piece of the puzzle, and that's also available. With that, we want to thank you and ask you if you have any more questions.
Just to clarify and understand a couple of things, you have a model in which to follow for designating how much funding each of the colleges gets, and anything that's left over is what we consider the one-time spending basic aid money. But is there any flexibility in that model to allocate more money to the colleges, leaving less for the basic aid amount, but it would still follow the parameters of only being used for one-time spending and so forth?
Not at this point in time, unless we change the board guidelines as well as BP and AR 3110.
Okay. And then curious, on slide 5, you had a number there that district services receives 9.34% fixed. I mean, I don't have the greatest memory in the world, but it seems like that number is higher than it has been. And it just curious if we have any idea what it has been over the years and why the increase.
It actually has decreased. It was closer to 9.7, and we moved some district-wide maintenance agreements that were in the district services budget to the general expenses and decreased the formula accordingly.
Okay, thank you. Seeing no other requests to speak, I think you're good. Thank you very much. So now we're moving on to the consent calendar. Do I have any polls? And before I see those, I will be pulling 5.4 because we do have an exhibit to go with that needs to be gone over. Any others? I see Trustee Wright.
I'd like to pull 5.8.
5.8. Trustee Lang.
I'd like to pull 5, and 5.15.
5.5 and 5.15. All right. So we'll start with 5.4. Again, I pulled this because we had a change in the exhibit, and oh, that's true. I need a motion to approve the balance of the consent calendar.
Second.
So a motion from Trustee Jamal and a second from Trustee Lang. Seeing no more, are these new requests to speak or are these the old ones? These are the old ones. Okay, so seeing no more requests to speak, we'll go ahead and vote on the balance of the consent items. We have a unanimous yes votes with 2 trustees absent and 1 student advisory yes vote. Okay, so 5.4, you had information for us.
Yes, we do. As you can see, 5.4 is a hiring of a construction manager, Bernard's. It refers to Exhibit A and Exhibit B, and Exhibit B was not included in your packet, so we did distribute it, and we had it posted. We have copies of it outside as well. If you have any questions on Exhibit B, we can have Brandy go over what the agreement entails.
In lieu of the fact that we just got this before the meeting, I know I didn't have time to read it. Brandy, do you mind? Please.
Hello. So in front of you have Exhibit B. It's the construction management agreement. Many of our agreements in the district are similar in nature, and the differences in those agreements can be found in Article 2, where the scope of services is identified. And the scope of services in this case are obviously related to construction management services, with regard specifically to the task swing space, which we're hoping to break ground in March on. And I can answer any other questions on the contract if you have them.
I don't see any requests to speak, so
Move approval.
we have a motion to approve from Trustee Lang and a second from Trustee Wright. We'll go ahead and vote on the item. Thank you. We have a unanimous yes vote, 2 trustee absent, and 1 student advisory yes vote. So next we'll go to, we'll just go in order, 5.5, Trustee Lang.
Yes, I was hoping that the college presidents might tell us a little bit about the CTE grants for each of their institutions. There were just first I wanted to understand Sim Baby, mobile pop-up shop. I have no idea what these are about, so I'm quite interested to hear about that. And then also wanted to find out a little bit about what the differences are between the CTE grants that Saddleback has applied for and those that IBC has applied for.
Sure, I'll start, but real quick question. You want to know about the grant program or just more about our specific use of those grant funds?
Specific use,
Okay.
yes.
With that said, I'm not going to be very good to give you that detailed on SimBaby or otherwise. Kathy, might you be aware of SimBaby or some of these other projects? There's 6 of them, I believe. Go up to the microphone, please.
Please go to the podium so it can get on record. It's already good that we have Trustee Lang and the President saying SimBaby over and over.
Okay, Kathy Worley from Saddleback College, and SimBaby is essentially what it sounds like. It's a simulation infant that's used in healthcare programs. The pop-up shop, I don't remember. I want to say it has something to do with photography, but I truly don't remember. What were the other ones?
Pop-up shop had something to do with fashion.
Well, I don't remember. It's largely an equipment grant. The 60% distribution that we were able to allocate internally is predominantly equipment. The other money that will be coming forward that we still need to apply for are going to be for regional collaborative projects. But were there others in this allocation?
There's 6. There's 6 of them.
Pardon me, in each of the different areas, one for CTV, health, fashion, STEM, business, and culinary, I think were the Saddleback ones that the Saddleback application covered.
Right, and I don't remember the specifics without having that in front of me.
Okay.
But it'd be easy to get.
Okay, well, I mean, there was information in here, just some of the terminology. It was difficult to tell exactly what was going on here and what was envisioned as part of the grant. So that's what I was interested in getting a little more information about. Okay.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you. So it's all good for education, right?
I move the item.
All right, we have a motion
Second.
and a second. Motion from Trustee Jamal, second from Trustee Wright. Seeing no further requests to speak, we'll go and vote on the item. Unanimous yes vote, 2 trustees absent, and 1 student advisory yes vote. The next we'll go to Trustee Wright, pulled 5.8.
This was a question that I had when I looked over Saddleback College's the revised laboratory fees. And there was a fee here that I didn't. It seemed would just like some comment on it. Kinesiology and athletics, men's football, they went from a 0 fee to $150, and it was for Adidas team clothes. What does that mean?
We would have to ask that dean and department. If you'd like, we can get you that information.
Because I was just curious what that meant. Because usually the football uniforms, the helmets, and everything else, the pads are all furnished. So, just
I don't even want to speculate.
Okay. Thank you.
Do we need to
Do you want to
table the item until next meeting?
You can pull that out, right? Just that item. It's up to the trustee.
Do I have a motion to table?
Perhaps rather than a motion
Or
to table,
we don't need
might
a-
approve all the rest of
Yes.
those items
Approve all the
except for
rest.
the one item.
So
that
motion
Trustee
to
Wright had
approve with
identified.
amendment.
Second.
Well,
Okay.
Mr. President, I have one option. I could text real quickly the dean, who I know is there, if you would like, and I can bring back the answer in about a minute or two.
Why don't we do that then? We'll go on to 5.15, and we will come back to that. So, Trustee Lang, you had asked for 5.15?
Well, this is really the flip side of the other one, which has to do with IBC's application for
Oh, I
CTE
see. Yeah.
funds and Vice President of Justice, I guess.
So these reflect our CTE programs. Each college has unique offerings and unique needs. Most of ours are equipment in biotechnology. We don't have Top or SimBaby because we don't have allied health programs, but ours are different, but mostly equipment.
I move the item.
All right. I have a motion
Excuse
from
me?
Trustee. Oh, yes.
I'm sorry. There was a revision that was requested by IBC on this particular item.
No match.
Yes. So right now, the agreement, as was approved by Rancho Santiago Community College District, included a match of $38,200. The IVC department responsible for this grant has requested through Rancho Santiago to make that match zero. They're in the process of approving that at Rancho Santiago Community College District, which is the fiscal agent for this grant for the state. And so we were wondering if we could request the board to approve this item with that change pending Rancho Santiago's approval, so we don't have to bring this back next meeting.
So then we have a motion as amended. We can entertain that.
I'll move the item.
Second.
All right. So I have a motion from Trustee Jamal and a second from Trustee Milchiker, I heard. Seeing no further discussion, we'll go ahead and vote on the item. Unanimous yes vote, 2 trustees absent, and 1 student advisory yes vote. Do we have what we need on 5.8?
I got an answer. Well, fortunately, we had right behind me, I didn't have to text Tony. Fortunately, behind me, we have one of our wonderful coaches, Mark Blethyn. So he explained to me what this is. This is actually a fee that students to get supplemental gear. So it's like shorts, T-shirts, socks, etc. But the students get to keep it. So they're really purchasing it for themselves, and they get to keep the gear afterwards as well. So.
Okay.
It's a lot less than when the high school's charging. I can tell you that.
It's funny he just mentioned.
So that's a good. That's a bargain. Come
Yeah.
to Mission Viejo High School. I'll show you what we're getting charged.
Yeah.
All right. I guess I'll recognize Trustee Jamal to speak. Seeing no further requests to speak, do I have a motion on the item? I have a motion from Trustee Wright and a second from Trustee Lang. Go ahead and vote on the item. A unanimous yes vote, 2 trustees absent, and 1 student advisory yes vote. That concludes the consent calendar. Moving on to 6.1, general consent action item. Orange County School Board Association Marion Bergeson Award nomination. This is an ability for us to nominate either a colleague on this board or someone we might know from another board to be eligible to receive the Marion Bergeson Award at an upcoming OC SBA dinner. Anybody have anybody in mind?
No.
Oh, Trustee Lang.
I was going to ask you, are there any trustees that wish to be nominated for this
That's
award?
a good question. No, thank you.
I don't know how many of us actually qualify because there's a certain amount of service have to be, if you read the award or the nominee criteria. I know that some of us are still too new at this. But those of you who've been doing this a while longer could certainly be eligible if you are interested in it.
Maybe another year.
No? Okay.
Thank you.
That being said, we'll move on.
Thank you.
Orange County School Board Association Board of Directors interest form. Our present representative on that board is Trustee Jamal. My understanding this is more like a housekeeping. So if we can entertain a nomination for him to continue.
I'll second.
It's exciting how many other people wanted to fight for that. Trustee Lang motion, Trustee Milchiker second. Seeing no requests to speak, we'll go and vote on this item. Or do we need to vote on it?
Probably not.
I don't
It's
think
not
so.
a vote.
I don't think
It's
it's
just
a
a.
voting.
It's just it is for approval. Yeah, we do need to. Okay.
We could vote on it. It's good. Oh, here. Yeah.
Okay. Very good. Barely a quorum on that one. 4 yes votes, 2 absent, 1 abstention, and a student advisory yes vote.
Just made it.
All right. Next we have 6.3, authorization of payment to trustee absent from the board meeting for Trustee Padberg.
So moved.
Motion and a second from Trustee Wright. We'll go ahead and vote on the item. Unanimous yes vote, 2 trustees absent, 1 student advisory yes vote. 6.4, resolution in support of changes to community college funding to include differential funding for high-cost career technical education program. I'm going to let Chancellor Portner speak to this a little bit before we have a motion.
The state and, in fact, the federal government has been looking more and more at community colleges to beef up workforce development to not only to help us out of the recession, which is our work has been great in that respect, but also to address what's called the skills gap, in that the students coming out don't have the skills that are necessary for the emerging technologies that the companies need. In any event, they're looking at community colleges to provide this instruction. Only that instruction is much more expensive than the traditional straight lecture class. So the community colleges in California banded together and have drawn up a resolution that would go to the state chancellor that would endorse getting a higher amount of an allocation for CTE programs than for general lecture programs. And so there's no good reason we wouldn't endorse this, because the programs are much more expensive.
Absolutely.
So it'd help us to pay for what we need to do to gear up new programs.
Okay, so I'll take a motion.
I so move.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Open for discussion. Trustee Jamal.
Yes, my question, Chancellor, I support the resolution, but in resolution item number 4, we recognize that our CTE programs receive less in FTS funding than they cost to operate, with the exception of some healthcare programs. So how are we bridging this funding gap currently?
The way you bridge the funding gap is less resources are available to go towards the other programs.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we still run the programs. It just has to come from somewhere else, so you have to make priority decisions.
Okay, seeing no further requests to speak, we'll do a roll call vote on this one because it's a resolution. Just an electronic vote? All right. We'll go ahead and vote on the item then. You have a unanimous yes vote, 2 trustees absent, 1 student advisor yes vote. Do you want me to indicate on the sheet, or will you take care of that? I know, but it's asking for a tally. You'll do that? All right. Okay, next we have 6.5, Saddleback College Storage Area Networks. And ordinarily, I imagine we'd ask Abramucci.
What this is last year the board approved use of a master agreement through the state of Minnesota, in which the state of California approved use of for storage area networks called SAN. And basically the contract has been extended at the state level. We're just asking for us to have ability to use this for an extended date.
Move approval.
Okay. I have a motion and a second. No request to speak. We'll go ahead and vote on the item. Unanimous yes vote. 2 trustees absent. 1 student advisory yes vote. Next we have 6.6. Saddleback College Technology and Applied Science Task Swing Space Project.
Yes. This is adopting a resolution and authorizing an award for lease back for the Saddleback College Task Swing Space. I asked Brandy DeLena to explain this item because you have quite a thick packet in front of you for this item.
Okay.
So just a brief recap on leaseback and the selection process. It involves a pre-qualification package that we provided to the contractors after an advertisement, like we do in normal public bid environments. So 11 contractors came to the table and filled out the pre-qualification package. Of that, we determined that 4 were pre-qualified. 3 of those contractors provided us with proposals. And the evaluation committee then evaluated those proposals and performed interviews. And before you is the result of that process. Last month, we came to you with a recommendation for pre-construction services, which have been underway. I'm sorry, that was in December. Time flies. And this month, we're coming to you for a recommendation for approval on a resolution, a site lease, a sublease, and construction services agreements. All of those documents are required by code, And I'm here to answer any questions you might have on that process.
Okay. You got your answer? Okay. Okay. Seeing no requests for questions, I have a motion from Trustee Lang, second from Trustee Jamal, and we'll go ahead and vote on the item. Unanimous yes vote, 2 trustees absent, 1 student advisory yes vote. Thank you very much. Grace, can you come up to the dais real quick, please? Okay, thank you. Next, we have 6.7, 5-year construction plan. Any presentation on that?
Yes.
Okay.
This is the 5-year construction plan that we do annually and submit to the state. And Brandy shouldn't have left the podium because we're going to have her explain the changes since last year.
Okay. So those are summarized in your cover. And as soon as I get to that cover, I'll let you know what those are. So Irvine Valley College Life Sciences was on the first spot last year. It's been closed with the State Chancellor's office, and that will be removed from this year's. The ATEP building project, which is underway, has been raised in priority to reflect its current activity. The A200 renovation and fine arts projects have just switched priorities with the between each other, primarily because of the state bond not being on the ballot last year and our desire to move forward with a renovation project at the A200 building, which is the next domino after the A400 building is complete. The Saddleback College Athletic Stadium renovation was raised in priority based on participatory governance evaluation at Saddleback College. Another change was the IVC Health Center concession. This is a really long title. There's 2 projects here. So last year, the Health Center concession project was paired with the IVC swing space, ATEP swing space. Before we got to the board with that project, it was determined that the funds would be better spent if we had a permanent building over at ATEP, IVC First Building, which is the one we mentioned earlier, is raised in priority and under design right now. However, IVC determined that the desire for the concession and the bathrooms and the bleachers were still a valid desire for them, and not only that, but that it paired well with a student services annex project. So somewhere in the master plan, much farther down, there was a student services annex project, and so IVC has got the idea that they'll take the health center services from the student services annex and move them together with the concession bleachers bathrooms project and develop this new project. This also went through the participatory governance process, and they raised it in priority as a result of that evaluation, the desire for this continued project. Finally, or not finally yet, but Saddleback College repair and remodel of the MSE building was originally much lower on the priority list. This building is in desperate need of renovation, and there will be a continued occupancy in this building once the sciences building project is complete. Computers and mathematics will continue to occupy this building, and the campus has recognized a need for renovation and increased the priority on this building. Then the final one is the district services relocation. The Education and Facilities Master Plan does identify this as a project that will be kind of a to be determined in the future type of a project. And both of the colleges have asked that we begin to consider potential funding for this project, which is why it's been added to the 5-year plan. And I'm here to answer any questions you might have.
Moving that closer to the center of the district,
That's the desire.
Is that the desire? Okay. I have a request to speak from Trustee Jamal.
Yes, thank you, Brandy. I was hoping you'd address the issue of the new Saddleback College ATEP building, the new building that is planned, because it is noteworthy. I think it's the first Saddleback College building planned to be built as opposed to demoed at ATEP. What's the plan for that building in terms of programs and what will be housed there?
So let me back up a step, if you don't mind.
Sure.
There's a development framework under development right now, and in that framework, there is a plan in a first phase for the IVC ATEP first building, the Saddleback College first building, and then commercial interests who we would like to have partners on that first phase. And during that development, the very first building actually is going to be the IVC first building, and the programming for that are Craig Justice can actually do a better job of answering that question than I can.
Thank you, Brandy. The programming includes our design model prototyping program, DMP, which is already at ATEP. It also includes our laser technology program, which is already at ATEP, in addition to some engineering classes, SolidWorks, and that sort of thing, expanding into pre-engineering and different STEM curricula. We are considering allying electronics technology with laser technology because the discipline faculty know the synergies with those two programs, and so new spaces are being designed at the new ATEP first building. In addition to that, the different energy programs, electrical wiring and that sort of thing are another allied technical area. So it's going to be a terrific list of programs that will be out there the first phase.
If I can just add one thing. Back in January of 2012 and February of 2012, the board approved two important things. One was the square footage assigned to each of the first buildings for each of the two colleges, and that is 30,000 square foot each college for their first building, and that was approved in January. Then in February 2012, the programming for each of the two colleges was approved, both for Saddleback College for the first building as well as IBC. And so we could resend those items to the board just as reminders. Saddleback College's first building will be for their allied health program, and they're looking at their Center for Innovation in Healthcare, a simulated hospital lab.
And just quick, when do we anticipate breaking ground, or when do we think we'll break ground for the Saddleback College ATEP?
For the IVC or the Saddleback?
Saddleback.
That's unknown as of yet. The funding is the question around that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Trustee Wright.
My comment is I applaud Saddleback for raising that priority from 27 up to 15. I'd even like to see it go higher because that science math building, it is the sciences math building. It needs to be renovated. Once we move the sciences out to the new science building, it's still building is being occupied by math and by computer science, and maybe other people teach classes in there, but it needs to be renovated.
All right. Trustee Lang.
Yes, this is the first time that we are seeing the appearance of the district services relocation item on this list. And so I wanted to hear just a little bit more about what's envisioned with that project.
I think I'll pass the baton to Dr. Fitzsimmons.
Okay, so this came out of a couple different planning processes. One is the strategic planning process. In goal number 1, there was a desire and there's a goal for relocation of district services to a more centralized place between both colleges. So that was in strategic plan goal number 1. In addition to that, in the EFMP, there is an item under Saddleback College's Educational Facility Master Plan, and that is to renovate the third floor of the Health Sciences building for expansion of allied health and health sciences programs. Obviously, district services occupying the third floor, and there would need to be some kind of what we call secondary effects taking place there to put the district services somewhere. So between those two things and a more increased desire to see district services located somewhere in between the two colleges, it was raised by both college presidents and their participatory governance groups to be on the 5-year construction plan. We really can't entertain the thought of exploring the concept unless it's on the 5-year construction plan as part of our planning processes.
Okay, but at this point, you're talking about essentially an unknown location I think is what I'm hearing you say.
Correct.
That it wouldn't be on the IVC campus, it wouldn't be on the Saddleback campus, it wouldn't be at ATEP. So we're looking at a different site.
Correct.
Okay, and at this point, nobody has really sketched this out any further than that.
It has to be on a plan before we can start to really have those kind of active discussions.
No, I withdrew mine. Trustee Jamal.
Sorry, you put this on the agenda when it was unknown to all of us, I think. I don't. I'm trying to understand the rationale for this again, and where does the impetus come from? So both, it's coming from the colleges. They desire to have district services somewhere in between here and IVC. That would give us 4 different campuses, if you will. ATEP, IVC, Saddleback, and then district services. I'm having a hard time understanding this rationale.
I don't want to speak for the college presidents, so I'll go ahead and allow President Burnett and Craig Justice speak on this item.
Thank you, Todd. Well, in the planning process, as Brandy said and as Deborah has said, there's an interest in doing this. As I understand, and I'll let Todd speak for Saddleback, the health science building is growing and needs more space. But at the same time, it was perceived to be more of a equity or fairness issue for both colleges to meet in middle ground and free up some space at Saddleback too. This went through several planning sessions and discussions, and I recall Chancellor Portner asking at the last one at our retreat, I believe it was in June, is this something we still see as a recommendation from both colleges? And the answer was, I think, a very firm yes.
In keeping with that, in addition, through those discussions, we had a thing called barrier discussions, and our number 1 or 4 of our final recommendations under those barriers, one of them was looking at district services to be at a more neutral location. To be honest, first and foremost, I think it started with IVC for understandable reasons. They have to cart over here all the time out of their community into Saddleback College to be at the district. So that's one issue of that. And on the other side, from Saddleback's perspective, frankly, there's the pros and cons of having them on our campus. So we could go in and give you a lot of the details. Our faculty have issues, our staff, administrators, managers, everybody. But when it came down to it, we, for the first time, I believe in the history, that Saddleback and IVC together has agreed that, the time's probably right. However, I would like to note this, like Vice Chancellor just said, this is just to put on the list. If you notice, look at all the projects above it. It would take years of funding just to even get to that potentially. So I think the real issue here is we recognized, in keeping with our strategic plan, in keeping with our discussions, to at least get it recognized on the list for the first time, that we should discuss the options of potentially. One other plug for Saddleback is our biggest problem is parking. So I'll tell you, we'd love to have those 100 spots. So, but that's not the main motivation, to be honest.
Trustee Milchiker.
Hi. This is the first time, I believe, that the trustees have actually seen this proposal. And I just have to mention that it was mentioned earlier by some of the people that spoke to the district, the incredible costs of purchasing or renting or buying. It was mentioned that the Montage was recently sold. The 4 top, the Montage, the Ritz-Carlton, all the top hotels in Orange County were sold at an incredibly high price, $500 million, the highest price per room of any particular, for any hotel in the country that's ever been sold. I'm not excited about looking for a new building and buying a new building or renting a new building now. We already have 3 sites. So I just have to tell you that's where I'm coming from, okay? Thank you.
I would enjoy a shorter drive. But is there a page missing on the... I don't see the pool. It dropped off the list. It's just gone. All right, fine. Trustee Lang.
one further. I guess we should be grateful we didn't buy the montage for district services.
Oh, there's not a bad
idea. In any event, I think the problem that I'm having here is similar to my colleagues as well, is that it's not just the fact that it's appearing on the board, but it's got a priority, frankly, that's in the middle of the list and has been kind of moved up ahead of a lot of things that have been here for quite some period of time without, I might add, some plans that don't seem to be very fleshed out at this point. So I guess that this one's given me a little heartburn as well.
If I may add, that this priority list is a list that is submitted to the state. It's a 5-year construction plan. As you know, we go through our regular capital planning, both at the college level and through KIC, which is a capital improvement committee, and then recommendations for funding are separate. We don't anticipate getting down to funding that. So as President Burnett said, this is reviewed annually. I'm sure things are going to change by next year, and priorities will change, and et cetera. So I
think it's just, I think it would be important to take note of some of the comments that the trustees have been making about this item. Thank you.
Thank you.
President Prendergast, may I say something, please? Dan Walsh
Sure.
down here. Just to point out, this was in the strategic plan for the district. This isn't the first time this has come before. It was in the college strategic plan. I believe it was in the EFMP. So this has been out there before.
I don't think we've seen it, though.
Yeah, we've seen it before. It's been a while. And again, I think the big concern is its jump up onto the list. Yes, Kathy.
Kathy Schmeidler, IVC Academic Senate. I understand your concerns. At last year's district-wide retreat, strategic planning retreat, this one item stood out as the only item on last time's strategic plan that had not been addressed in any way. And it jumped out at everybody, and I think everybody was a little bit surprised to see it sitting there, having fallen to the wayside after we'd been addressing lots of other things.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Seeing no further requests to speak, I'll entertain a motion, if I'm going to get one. You have to move to approve the 5-year plan.
I'll move it.
I have a motion from Trustee Wright.
Second.
I have a second from Trustee Jamal. No further requests to speak. We'll go ahead and vote on the item. We have a unanimous yes vote, 2 trustees absent, and a student advisory abstention. Thank you. Okay, 6.8, computer equipment and related devices.
Okay, this is exactly like 6.5, in which we have a master agreement through the state of Minnesota approved for use by the state of California, and we're requesting authorization because the master agreement date extension occurred to be allowed to use this master agreement for purposes of Hewlett Packard types of equipment through the extension date.
All right. Need a motion?
So moved. Second.
Okay, I have a motion and second. No request to speak. We'll go and vote on the item. Unanimous yes vote, 2 trustees absent, 1 student advisory yes vote. 6.9, district-wide air-blown fiber change order.
No changes.
I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion from Trustee Jamal.
Second.
Second from Trustee Milchiker. Seeing no request to speak, we'll vote on the item. Unanimous yes vote, 2 trustees absent, 1 student advisory yes vote. 6.10, ATEP Land Exchange Demolition Project change order.
No changes to the item.
No changes to the presentation. Okay. Motion from Trustee Lang, second from Trustee Wright. Seeing no request to speak, we'll vote on the item. Unanimous yes vote, 2 trustees absent, 1 student advisory yes vote. 6.11, board policy revision. This is for discussion and approval. So we had it last month already for review and study.
Move approval.
We have a motion from Trustee Lang, a second from Trustee Wright, and a request to speak from Trustee Jamal.
Yes, so I support the motion, but I had some conversations today with Vice Chancellor Fitzsimmons on this item, and I understand on the board policy 3508, the public safety camera system. A couple of questions. One, is this the first time there's a board policy on this issue?
Yes, it is a brand new policy. It came up as a result of security issues related to Virginia Tech and a lot of other incidents that are occurring across the nation, and the need to see if we can have public safety cameras to assist in security and policing. But we also wanted to make sure that when we had a board policy, we had an administrative regulation where we talked about when we would use the safety cameras, who would review the tapes, and make sure our unions were involved and felt comfortable with the board policy administrative regulation. So these are new BP and ARs for public safety cameras.
Yeah, and I do think that security cameras can help detect and deter activities, crime. I did have a question, though. It's not. I know we're providing the authorization here in the board policy, but there are significant costs attached to this as we move forward. Do we have any projections on installation and maintenance of these security systems on the college campuses?
We have Carol Hilton, who's here. I know that they just did a recent purchase, and maybe she can speak to the costs. Again, the BP authorizes the use, and then the budget is done at the college level.
Hi, good evening again. We actually did install some safety cameras last year, and of course we need the cameras and the servers, etc. And we're projecting for the Saddleback campus that to close out the project's about another $200,000, and that is for parking lots, kind of public areas, pretty much. Obviously, not inside classrooms and that kind of thing, inside offices. So, but I don't know for IVC.
We have no cameras that I'm aware of.
All right.
It's actually much more cost effective than it has been in the past. The prices have really come down. And so the kind of technology we're looking at is pretty cost effective.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Do you already have a motion on this one? Yeah, okay. All right, we'll go ahead and vote on the item. Unanimous yes vote. 2 trustees absent, 1 student advisory abstention. 6.12, academic personnel actions.
No changes.
No changes. Any concerns? Have a motion for approval and second from trustee.
Excuse me, my apologies. There is one change, sir.
Okay.
If I can interject that.
There is a pull on a dean position, correct?
On Exhibit A on page 2, B2, we would like to pull that and also the attachment with it for the job description to return after some further discussion to the board, probably in the future.
So do I have a motion as amended? Okay, so I have a motion from trustee Lang, second from trustee Wright. Seeing no request to speak, vote on the item. Unanimous yes vote, 2 trustees absent, 1 student advisory yes vote. 6.13, classified personnel actions.
We have one change to it.
Okay.
And on Exhibit A, page 6 of 10, item F3, a change is requested from Irvine Valley College for Costanzo Marina. We want to change the hours from 40 to 25 and January 25th to January 5th, 2015. So 2 changes to that one item.
Item 3?
Yeah.
F3, out of class?
Yes, it should be January 5th.
Okay. Got it. All right. I'll have a motion as with the changes.
I moved it earlier, so
Okay.
I accept the changes.
So, Trustee Jamal, motion second from Trustee Lang. Seeing no request to speak, we'll go ahead and vote on the item. Unanimous yes vote, 2 absent, 1 student advisory yes. 6.14, annual report on fiscal year probationary faculty recommended for continuation of tenure track status. approval of 1-year contract for employees who have completed 1 year as full-time tenure-track faculty members.
Yeah. Second.
A motion and a second.
On this item, this is one of 4 items. You'll see them in sequence. You'll see the first year, second year, and then you'll see in 7.2 would be those faculty who are in the middle of a contract as an information item, and then also the fourth-year ones. So in essence, right now at this moment in our district, we have 103 different tenure review committees in full operation. And if you think about the size, that we actually have at the minimum 3 people per committee. So we have a very active group of faculty involved. And some of the things we're talking about at the negotiating table are very interesting as to how we go about dealing with the idea of even mentoring, making certain we have some of the best faculty coming through and mentoring those people coming through the system. So this is the first of several items we'll ask for approval for tonight.
Thank you. All right. So a motion and a second. No request to speak. We'll vote on the item. Unanimous yes vote. 2 trustees absent. 1 student advisory yes vote. 6.15. This is for a 2-year contract for employees who completed 2 years as full-time tenure-track faculty.
Second.
So I have a motion from Trustee Wright, second from Trustee Lang. Trustee Jamal. Seeing no request to speak, we'll vote on the item. Unanimous yes vote, 2 absent, 1 student advisory yes. 6.16. This is 4th-year probationary faculty recommended for tenure approval of tenure for full-time faculty members who have completed 4-year tenure track plan.
Second.
Motion from Trustee Lang, second from Trustee Jamal. No request to speak. Go ahead and vote on the item. Unanimous yes vote, 2 absent, 1 student advisory yes vote. 7.1, report on Saddleback and Irvine Valley College speakers. Any questions from the board? Any presentation from the table? No. 7.2, annual report on 3rd-year probationary faculty continuation of tenure track status. It's already alluded to.
Yes.
7.3, basic aid report.
Just a note that we did close out 6 projects for a total of $1.9 million. That amount of money will go back into the basic aid pot for consideration for reallocation as we go through the basic aid process that happens this spring.
Okay. Facility plan status report. Current status of construction projects. No questions there. Monthly financial status report, 7.5. 7.6, quarterly investment report. 7.7, OPEB trust fund.
I just want to make a note that when we looked at our balances this morning, the benefit trust was at $97,205,000, which is just over $2 million higher than in December. So you can see from month to month, this does change significantly sometimes.
Okay, thank you. Seems to be fairly healthy. All right, so next we have reports from administrative and governance groups. We'll start with Saddleback College Academic Senate.
Dan Walsh, Saddleback College Academic Senate President, and congratulations to our newly tenured faculty members, effective the first day of the next semester. They're a valuable asset to our district, and I hope that we can find a way to recognize them in the coming weeks and months. Also, I wanted to clarify something from the DRAC report earlier. There was a question about a change in the district allocation. I may have the percentage and dates off a little bit, but over 4 years ago, the allocation went from 6.98% to 9.7%. So the drop from 9.7 to 9.4 was a recent drop in the last few weeks. So yes, there was an increase, and yes, there was a slight decrease as well.
Okay, thank you. Faculty Association.
Claire Cesario, Faculty Association President. Sorry, my voice is kind of gone. The Faculty Association would like to reiterate the sentiments of many of the trustees and wish Trustee Jay a speedy recovery. As Ken Woodward mentioned, Trustee Jay has been an integral part of our district as a faculty member, a dean, a college president, a vice chancellor of human resources, and now a trustee. And as Trustee Jamal mentioned, he is an extremely fair-minded individual and has been an important voice on this board, so we hope to see him back soon. I also want to commend all the full-time and part-time faculty for coming out tonight to express their concerns to you, and I think you were able to see that Of primary importance on the minds of our faculty is the desire to serve our students as best they can and to have the resources to be able to do so, including being a part of the community in which they teach. I was lucky enough to be hired here at a time when the housing costs were fairly low, because I can honestly say that if I was hired today, I would not be living in this community. But it's been essential to me to live in the community, to run into my students on a daily basis at the grocery store, at restaurants, and wherever. I see them all the time. And to also have my children and their friends attend the college and to use me as a resource. So I urge you to give serious consideration to the salary proposal package made by the Faculty Association. Thank you. And also I do want to congratulate our newly tenured, starting next year, faculty. So thank you.
Thank you. Irvine Valley College.
Kathy Schmeidler, IVC Academic Senate President. I'd like to echo the remarks of both of my colleagues, and rather than repeating them, although I will add that, of course, we hope that Bill J. gets better very soon, and that all of our now tenured and retained faculty members, congratulations to all of them on their status that will go up next August. In addition, I'd like you all to mark your calendars. April 17 will be the Student Success Summit. This will be the fourth one, I guess, that we're having. Cooperative between the two colleges, and I know that that seems like a very long distance away, but we only have one board meeting in between. So just to get a little. Get that on your calendars. Those of you who have come before, I think, have enjoyed it, and we're looking forward to a very good cooperative program then.
All right, thank you. Next, we don't have Randy Peebles here, so we'll go to Vice Chancellor, Technology and Learning Services, not here either, and Vice Chancellor, Human Resources.
Condolences to Bill J. Let's hope for a speedy recovery. We're in the middle of our faculty recruitment season, and part of that is actually going to a job fair in San Francisco and Los Angeles, and we use a service called the registry. And the registry, in the month of January alone, had 1.8 million hits on it. So literally, by law, every single community college district must advertise faculty positions on a statewide basis. So we all use that, and the cost is non-existent because it's a service to us. So we utilize that in the Chronicles. So we're reaching between 2.5 million to 3 million potential applicants for our jobs. So we tend to have good pools, but there are some concerns that have been raised about the issue of the cost of living. But that said, we're doing very well. A big proponent, a big advantage on the job fairs are deans. When a dean shows up, they're much more valuable recruiting than an HR specialist, even though we have fabulous people. But the prime people to go is really the faculty. When the faculty come, they're swarmed by applicants looking to find out, is that the best place to go? So I'd like to thank the deans. We had a large turnout of deans from IVC that came and everything to the job fair in Los Angeles. We even had a dean show up in San Francisco to help as well. So with that, we're doing very well. The pools are relatively large considering the economic climate. We are not the number one recruiter this year, and we're very happy about that. Other people get to have those large groups of future employees. Thank you.
All right. Vice Chancellor, Business Services.
Yes, just a couple little things related to the ATEP project that we thought would share since Dr. Peoples is not here this evening. We have been working on the development framework, and it's in the final stage, so that'll be brought to the board in March or April for review. The land exchange demo projects moving forward, we have now demoed 3 buildings, the dorm buildings and the NCO club, and we're ready to do the 4th building. That's going to occur this week. And we've also done significant site work. We also are working with LPA to create the criteria documents for the site utility infrastructure. That's next on our list, so we are able to support the first building for IVC as well as the other first phase of the project as we develop moving forward. And we also have the planning underway for the IVC building. The selection of the design build team is underway, and we expect we'll be bringing that to the board shortly. And I also want to offer up, I don't see Dan Walsh there. We'll go over the DRAC model because I believe that there's some misperception on the district services allocation.
All right. IVC Classified Senate.
Good evening, sir. Vincent Cooper, President, IVC Classified Senate. First, best wishes for Trustee Jay for a speedy recovery. Second, I'd like to thank Vice Chancellor Fitzsimmons and her staff for all the great opportunities to learn about Workday. It's been going on a weekly basis, daily basis, workshops, constantly on both campuses. So it should be a rather smooth transition for the staff, and greatly appreciate that. And with that, I wish you a good week. Thank you.
All right. CSEA.
Thank you, Mr. President. Scott Ferguson Green, President, CSEA. We are very much involved with professional development. We know that over the past few years, many jobs have actually changed in the increasing of technology, and we are looking forward to being able to have the skills be provided to the classified staff as their jobs have changed, and we're hoping that with the involvement with professional development, that we're going to be able to provide the training to our people so that their jobs can be ever more efficient to both the colleges and the district. Also, with the Student Success Summit, we've been very much involved trying to put forth ideas and working with the chairs so that we can participate very much in the Student Success Summit coming up in April. Thank you.
Thank you. Saddleback College, Classified Senate.
Thank you. Mike Sauter, Classified Senate President for Saddleback College. A couple of items. This time of year, we are opening up our nominations for Classified Employee of the Year. And I wanted to announce that here today, that the Employee of the Year award is now open for nominations. And anyone at Saddleback, from administration on down to classified, can nominate a deserved employee for that award. It is the application can be found on our Classified Senate website, saddleback.edu/classified senate. You can also find it under the faculty staff drop-down menu. And it's a simple application. Please, if you know someone that deserves that award, fill the application out. The deadline is fast approaching because we have to announce our Employee of the Year at the upcoming Professional Development Day, which is scheduled for March 25th. March 25th is our annual Professional Development Day for classified employees. And this year we are holding the day at UCI at their fabulous Team Up facility. And I'm here to offer you on the board an invitation, a special invitation to come out to the day. We have spots for you if you would like to join us. Now, every year, the Chancellor and the Presidents come to give out the service pins to the employees, and we always invite the board members to come as well for lunch. But we wanted to save a couple of spots for anyone who's interested to join in the day because we are doing the high ropes course. If you've never done a high ropes course, it is thrilling, and it is focused on teamwork, and our theme for this year, synergy. So the goal is to provide you with a little bit more than just lunch. So if you're interested, I'll be emailing each one of you and offering you that invitation. So thank you.
Thank you. With that, we'll go ahead and adjourn our meeting in memory of two longtime employees. As was mentioned before, George Hartman, former coach and administrator at Saddleback College, was hired in 1969 right after the college opened. He retired from Saddleback Athletics Department in 1999. He was later inducted into the Saddleback College Athletic Hall of Fame and the California Community College Football Hall of Fame. Richard White, beloved full-time ceramic professor in the Saddleback College Art Department for 26 years, passed away after a long battle with cancer. Richie was an integral part of the Division of Fine Arts and Media Technology and was known for his kindness, warmth, and dedication to students. Among his many accomplishments, he will be remembered for his talent and leadership in the construction of the Saddleback College Veterans Memorial. Our thoughts and prayers go out to their families, colleagues, and friends. Thank you, and good night.